Suzanne Summers, this is my bad side.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! 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 Night of the Horrorphile.
So when you were growing up, was your mom like my mom, where she'd be yelling at you one second and then the phone rang and then she'd answer the phone all sweet and nice, talk to whoever she needed to talk to, hang up the phone and go back to yelling at you?
Well, my mom was more Hispanic than that. So so she was mad. She was just going to be an asshole to everybody who called.
Oh, well, my mom was pretty fake. Like,
my mom could fake it. I mean,
Yeah.
she could very much fake it. This feels like it should have been a Mother's Day episode. Do you not think
It should have been.
Like, I feel like it should have been because we were
Oh, yeah.
discussing moms, sort of. One particular mom in general. Welcome to Night of the Horrorphile. My name is Lee, and this over here is Brittany. And what this podcast is about, if you're just joining us, this is a really weird intro I'm doing here. I'm so terrible at these. I feel like each time I do an intro to the show for someone who might be joining us, like, I feel like I do a terrible job. But anyway.
what happened to your beautiful wife?
Hang on. This is a horror movie podcast, or genre movie podcast, as you can see this month, where we take a movie and show my beautiful wife, Brittany, that certain movie and see her thoughts on it because she is not seen anything. Well, you can't say that now. I feel like you've seen a lot of movies now. It's
Yes. In the last 2 years.
Yes. Some weird ones this month I feel like you're getting exposed to, not just horror.
Yeah, weird is the word.
Because this month is Camp Waters month, where we're celebrating not all the films. That would be cool. I would love to do all the films, but we are celebrating each episode. We'll be covering a John Waters movie. We've already covered Pink Flamingos. We've covered Polyester. So go check those episodes out if you haven't yet. But this week, what did we watch?
Serial Mom.
Serial Mom. Now, one thing you can't fault us for this month is every one of our movies has had a body count.
Oh, yeah.
It has had a body count, and today's feature is no exception. It's basically a fun slasher, is what John Waters has given us. This is as close to a slasher horror movie that we'll get from John Waters. I don't know. Our next movie, which I'll announce that at the end of this episode, maybe. Nah, it's more like a crime thriller. Anyway, that's right. You could lump Serial Mom into the comedy horror section if you wanted to stretch a little, in fact. Now, we have mentioned once or twice that John Waters is a true crime aficionado, among other things.
I would agree.
I love him. And I think today is a culmination of all those things in one movie. All his little obsessions about true crime. He loves it. Now, by the early 90s, Waters had gone basically mainstream, for lack of better words, with 88's Hairspray and 1990's Cry Baby leading the charge. But
what?
Yeah, he did Cry Baby.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It was hard. We almost did either Hairspray or Cry Baby for this episode, but I really wanted to go after Serial Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Because I also really wanted to do our next feature, which I'll announce at the end of the show. But Serial Mom kind of returned him to his more bad taste shocks in an unusual way, because I'll talk about it. But today's feature is definitely satirizing those TV movies that cover true crime, those over dramatic things.
Oh, yeah.
But by 1994 standards, it's shocking. By today, this is kind of normal. Like, all the jokes in this, while they're still funny and they still hold laughs, all these jokes about like people obsessing over true crime is kind of the norm nowadays, which is really funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'd go so far to say that if this film was released today, it would be definitely broadcast on TV and maybe even on Lifetime.
Oh, it probably
this would be, yeah. Tone down the comedy a little bit. This would be a definite Lifetime movie.
Oh, yeah.
True crime in 94, though, was more or less relegated to the underground obsessions. True crime people were kind of dumped into the same like little area that all of us horror fans were kind of relegated to, you know, the weirdos who like true crime. People who were into serial killers and the macabre were seen as fucking freaks, man, back then. 94 was the dead heat of the Satanic Panic, and Dahmer was still on everybody's, you know, minds and headlines. I mean, he had just died, I think, that year.
Oh, wow.
O.J. Simpson had broke history with his Bronco chase and trial. Actually, his trial would rock America in 95, but, you know, still.
Right.
Yeah, I think if anybody was alive at that time, and if you could remember, OJ was everywhere. Like, do you remember any of that?
No.
I don't know if you're too young. I
was
remember
too
it being everywhere. I remember watching the Bronco chase on television.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Of course, I remember a lot of weird shit from my childhood. So.
That's true.
Like, you never hear me like, and then we played hula hoop in the backyard, and I'm always like, and then I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and my first beheading scene I saw when I was 11. It's like, okay. No wonder my
Wow.
parents told me to keep my love under wraps just in case people thought I was satanic. But, you know, not saying that the public didn't have a healthy fascination for those kind of things. I mean, the true crime mostly came at you in headlines and shows like Unsolved Mysteries or America's Most Wanted.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So people had the appetite for it, but not so far as what we see today. And I'll kind of talk about that at the end of the episode of what we have now. You know, I mean, there's podcasts out there that make light of these situations and joke about them. And I think it's perfectly fine. I mean,
Yeah.
finding humor in the horrors of daily life is, yeah, it's pretty much the only way we're going to get by this, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
With today's film, I really do think that John Waters kind of predicted the true crime fever we're in. It's a multi-million-dollar business. Netflix is pretty much putting out a new crime doc every like fucking 4 months. Like I said, you have podcasts, and people even get serial killers tattooed on themselves. I saw a John Wayne
Yes.
Gacy tattoo the other day.
Yes. Let's do it.
Oh, I'm gonna get. Never mind, that'll ruin my sex life. I was like, I'll just get fucking a big tattoo of Jeffrey Dahmer on my back. It just says "time to eat" or something. Anyway,
Time to eat. Oh, my gosh.
dinner time. Oh God.
Nom, nom, nom.
Oh God. See, that's what I'm talking about. You know, today's movie really does kind of take that humor route that we just did. Filmed in Towson, Baltimore. This was basically shot in John Waters' old neighborhood.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
where he grew up. In fact, the high school that we see in this pic was the very same place where Divine got bullied every day. You know.
Oh.
Yeah. So I can't wait to talk about this one. It's actually it's one of my faves. Unlike other people, like I really do love his earlier pictures, but I tend to really like his later stuff, even though it's like very underrated. I don't know why people don't care for his later stuff as much as his original. I mean, I understand like Mondo Trasho and Pink Flamingos, all that stuff was super shocking and disgusting. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's his true shock work at work there.
Right.
But like these later things, I feel like they're Trojan horses. Like he wraps all these kind of messages up in these movies, this satire. He really has a handle on
yeah.
his satire
Oh, yeah.
at these later stages. And you know how I am. I fucking love a good satire comedy. But, you know, let's go ahead and just jump into it. Serial Mom from 1994.
The Stutfin family
You know,
is going to murder you because they can. Because you have offended them.
oh shit. You know, she cooks a really good meatloaf later. Like that meatloaf.
Are you
looks
sure
great.
it was a good meatloaf?
Yes,
I don't know. I make a pretty good meatloaf.
you do. Actually, never mind. I take it back. I think your meatloaf might beat out Beverly's. In fact, she would probably kill me for for choosing your meatloaf over her. But anyway, so the distributor, Savoy, that's the studio never got this movie. They did not understand what he was going for.
What?
In fact, they fucking hated it. When Waters screened this for Savoy Pictures, they said, "You can't show serial mom setting her children's friends on fire. No one's going to like this."
I think it's hilarious.
Yes, they definitely did not predict all of us liking this movie. One of the heads, who was actually sitting next to Kathleen Turner at the time of the screening, even turned to her and was like, "Is this a comedy? Oh my God, we're so in trouble." Because at 94 standards, like I said, this movie's very tame by today's standards. But for 94, for this to be a big picture, and I think, what is this, rated PG?
I don't know.
I really do think it's like a PG-13 rated movie. Oh, maybe it's
Probably.
rated R. I don't know. It might be rated R. But for it to be like that, they were like, they really had their reserves. But first thing you get, though, before this movie really gets going, and before the titles even click in, is that disclaimer that this was based on a true story.
Oh, yes.
Of course, people still to this day, some people still to this day think that this might have been based on one of the million true crime books out there.
And it wasn't.
No. I love it when they do this at the beginning of movies and you know they're doing it for a joke.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because and through this whole thing, they're like updating what time it is when things are happening and all this stuff. And even at the end, you get Beverly Supton did not want to participate in making this movie.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But anyway, I'll let you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
You're not sorry.
No, I'm really not.
So the Sutphin family.
Sutphin, yeah.
Such a weird name.
It is a very weird name. I wonder if that's like a really Baltimore name, you know?
I don't know. Well, they're sitting around for breakfast. Beverly, Eugene, Chip, and Misty. Misty's talking about a boy she met, and he's going to pick her up. And everyone seems pretty normal. Eugene is reading about the Hillside Strangler in the paper, and Beverly is justifying his killings as him just having bad days.
Which I've always loved that line. Just having a bad day.
He must have just been
He's just having a bad day. The Boston Strangler.
The Hillside Strangler.
Oh, the Hillside Strangler. I'm sorry. The Boston Strangler, I think, was later. Anyway. But anyway, so Kathleen Turner plays our serial mom, or Beverly Sutphin. Now, Kathleen Turner was the reason this got greenlit. She's an A-list actor.
Right.
And she's been, you know, in a B-list movie. Now, Kathleen has been in Romancing the Stone opposite Michael Douglas. She's been in Body Heat, The War of the Roses. You know her, because you haven't seen very many movies, but you definitely know her from Friends. I believe she played Ross's dad.
Chandler's dad.
Yeah. That's a good. She has fun with that role too. But I swear, I've never seen her in any movies have this much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can tell Kathleen Turner is having a fucking blast in this movie. And she really makes this thing. She really makes this movie.
I agree.
You know, like if it wasn't for her, I don't know if this movie would have there's a weird glee to this whole thing.
Her smile alone.
And I love, like, you see her because she has the ability, because she's such a good actress. She has the ability to just change her facial expressions. So she'll be like talking to somebody else nice and smile, then turn around the next second and go into serial killer mode. And, and it's so great.
It's pretty great.
Now, of course, you'll also notice Matthew Lillard. Yes, Matthew Lillard. This was his first film. Really? In fact, he got a lot of acting tips from Kathleen Turner. Like, one of the things he noticed is she learned everyone's names in the cast list.
Oh.
And he was like, well, would you do that? Like, you know, you're a big actor and stuff like that. And she was like, well, oh, honey, that's the first thing you do. She's like, you learn everybody's name.
I mean, you have to, right? I mean, you got to talk to him as an actor, like in the movie and in person. I get it. So they get a knock on the door, and it's two detectives. They're investigating harassing phone calls and letters that are being made to the neighbor named Dottie. They show them a note that Dottie had gotten that says, I'll get you pussy face. And Beverly is shocked, and the detectives don't really have any more questions because the family doesn't have any answers for them.
Right. Now, John was a huge collection of serial killer books and true crime info. Now, you could say that this film is the spiritual sequel to Female Trouble, if you've ever seen Female Trouble. I know you haven't, but it kind of falls into this line only, like, think of Female Trouble as like the insane serial mom, like with more shock value.
Okay.
Because in that movie, Divine is on a murdering spree and shit like that. And it's all gleeful and kind of funny. So you could see it as that. They both focus on how murders become these worship celebrities too. Like over time, they become famous off of their crimes and stuff, and it sees them go to like I don't know, like some kind of pedestal thing. Like I said, serial killers nowadays, it's really hard for me to talk like this because I'm talking like it's 1994.
Right.
But by today's standards, serial killers are in the pop culture lexicon.
Yeah.
You can buy a serial killer t-shirt. Like you could do anything you want to. Like, but back then it's a little less acceptable. And like I said, nobody really, your average person didn't just know who fucking like John Wayne Gacy was.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't know all this info. All this info wasn't out there. I mean, it was. You had serial killer books, but only the weirdos got those.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not as big as it wasn't as big as it is now.
Right. I mean, you can't throw a stone on iTunes without hitting a true crime podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the reasons why, because it was debated here. Because I know a lot about movies, a shit ton about movies.
Yes.
I know more movies than I do any other subject. But I debated on whether we should do a music podcast, a movie podcast, or a true crime podcast. And I was
wow.
well, why do a true crime podcast? Everything's been covered to death. Like, what's the point?
Right.
Because, like, eventually you just run out of shit unless you're geniuses like the last podcast on Left, where they're covering the Black Plague now, and it's fucking hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so permeated into our culture now.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
You can't go anywhere without knowing about it.
You love true crime.
I do.
So did this movie kind of appeal to you on that standard?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, hell yeah. Why would it not?
I don't know. We'll talk more.
I love murder and slashers.
I really think she's going to love this one.
Oh,
Out of all the movies, I really thought you were going to love this one.
Yes.
But now, crazy enough, I said he shot this in his old neighborhood. Enough time had gone by that the people who were John's age were now homeowners here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they were all his age and stuff. It was their parents that hated John and his friends. So by that time, everybody's moved out or dead. So most of the neighborhood got a kick out of John coming home and filming one of his movies there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he had less trouble here than he did with his other movies. Like,
like
Polyester.
Polyester. I was like, what the fuck is the name of that movie?
Yeah. I mean, he's constantly filming in Baltimore. Like he usually sticks to Baltimore. But but what you got here are a bunch of little things that we all find annoying.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Bev.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man. And I know her annoyances are 94 annoyances.
Yes.
But still, I really think like chewing with your mouth open or listening to your fucking phone with no headphones on in public.
Right.
Like there's just those little things that like, Bev kind of represents the little part in us that fantasize about maybe just choking that guy out with his own fucking hoodie drawstrings because I can hear your fucking music, man.
And I shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, or just beating that dude at the restaurant who's yelling into his phone with a leg of lamb, we don't do it. But, maybe. Yeah, we definitely think about it. And in that, maybe we think about it. I don't know if our listeners like, I've never thought about killing people. I think I'm going to unsubscribe. But, John based a lot of what Bev is on his own mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who would get so annoyed by these types of things you see. Like earlier in the movie, you see her like trying to kill this fly because it's just pissing her the fuck off. And
I agree.
And later there's a point in the movie where she's watching TV and they're like talking about somebody getting run over by a car, which in a scene that we'll see in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, immediately she's like, God, they showed her with her hair like that. He was like, his mom would do that shit, and his mom thought it was fucking hilarious. She saw it as kind of just a nice little tribute.
That's awesome.
Yeah. White after Labor Day, man. We're gonna get to
Oh
that
my
later.
gosh, yes.
I love that shit. But now this is the most money Waters had to do a film. And it does, you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Like you can definitely
yeah.
tell. There's so many different shots and so much different camera angles he was able to get with this. 13 million he had to work with.
Wow.
And now for the interior of the Sudbins homes, because, you know, a lot of people were like, yeah, film in the neighborhood, film around the house. And, you know, when it came to time to film inside the house, that was when a problem happens because, like, not a lot of people realize this, but there is a lot of equipment that comes with filming a movie. There's generators, there's fucking big ass lights, there's sound mics and wires galore. And so people would see that and they're like, what the fuck? Like, no.
My electric bill
Yeah.
is going to be
Yeah.
horrible.
And so, like, this interior was all built in a warehouse.
Oh, okay.
Now, the problem with that was the place next door was like a sawmill or something. So they were like,
oh my god.
so they had this saw going like 24/7. So they had to like collate their shooting schedule with when those people would be working. Because, you know, you can't tell somebody to shut their business now.
Right. I mean, but can you?
Right. Well, I don't know.
Can you? Can you?
Out of like the two films that we've covered where he's hit the suburbs instead of the slums of Baltimore, I really think he captures it here. Like, this is the suburbs.
Oh yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I didn't grow up in such a wealthy neighborhood here, but I remember the suburbs being like this.
Oh,
Like totally like this. Just everybody nice. All the neighbors are fucking nosy as shit.
yes, and these are definitely suburb problems. So Chip's friends, Scotty and Birdie's his girlfriend, show up. Eugene says that Birdie and Chip are horror nuts, and Scotty doesn't get out of the car, and he's just looking at porn while he waits on them to get in the car.
He's looking at a Betty Page magazine of all things, you know.
And Birdie brings Misty a Pee Wee Herman doll for her to sell at the flea market that she does. Carl, her friend, shows up, and he is a complete jerk to her.
Right.
And as everyone's leaving, Beverly makes a comment about how Scotty doesn't wear his seatbelt.
And Carl is a good example of a fucking jerk. Scotty, I immediately don't like Scotty right off the bat for some reason. I don't know what it is either. Has he done something to me? Like, he's not really a bad guy. It's just something about his character I don't like. And I think that kind of like makes what happens later a little bit more soft on me. But what's great is all these kids, you know, Waters put them in there because they kind of represent his younger fan base, you know, that he meets at conventions, you know, the 20-something-year-olds. You know, we know, like, people like my age and shit that are younger fans of Waters. We all know who Betty Page is. That, you know, that we see Scotty checking out here.
Oh, yeah.
We know Herschel Gordon Lewis. We know all about Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
Most of the stuff we love, we weren't even born in the time it was popular. But you can bet your ass we fucking know it and love it.
Oh, yeah.
And we respect our filth elders. So, you know.
Our filth elders?
Our filth elders. John is filth elder.
Okay.
Pretty, you know. Now you'll notice Ricky Lake is in this too. And I fucking love Ricky Lake. I've been a huge fan of her for the longest time. I even used to watch her talk show when I was younger.
Oh,
like
wow.
with my sister.
Yeah.
My oldest sister, we used to watch Ricky Lake all the time. In fact, I think it was after this movie that she went to film the pilot for the Ricky Lake show. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Now, you know, her big breakthrough, of course, was Hairspray. You know, she was she was in her teens in that. I think she was 16 when she was cast in Hairspray.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then she was in Cry Baby and plus this film. And she cameos in a few of Waters' other picks because she did get pretty famous after her talk show took off.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, honestly, Hairspray kind of put her in the public eye, you know, and she always had like a weight thing at the very early of her career that Jesus Christ, the headlines were not nice to her about.
No.
Fuck.
No.
Like, because John Waters cast her in Hairspray to begin with because she wasn't the normal teenager.
Okay.
Because in that movie, it takes place in like the 60s or 70s. No, 60s. And for that, you know, he wanted someone who didn't, because it's so easy to just put some skinny girl in that
Oh, yeah.
role. And he was like, I don't really want it. I want something different. And so he chose a bigger girl and
Oh,
put
that's
her in the
sweet.
movie. And she's cute as fuck in that movie. She's adorable. But yeah, so she went on to do her pilot right after this and got the Ricky Lake show and went on to do a bunch of other things. Now that Pee-wee doll we see, that wasn't just in there because of, that wasn't just in there as a joke. It was actually there as a tribute to Paul Rubens, who was always like, he's always been pretty supportive of John Waters and stuff and a friend of his and stuff.
Aww.
And, Paul Rubens around this time, he got arrested back in 91 for indecent exposure. Now I know a lot of you probably heard when you were younger that he was a child molester and all these awful things. But in reality, Rubens was jerking off at a porn theater during an adult film.
What?
Yeah, he was just jerking it at an adult movie. And I got to ask you, what the fuck are you supposed to do at an adult theater?
I thought you went there to do that.
I thought that was where you go to jerk off. In
Right.
fact, I was like, you could go to the adult theater to jerk off. Why are you doing it in public? It's like,
Right.
apparently, in the adult theater, it counts as public. And I'm like, no, that shouldn't be that way. That should be the place where you go to jerk off. You pay good money. And who's going to sit through an entire porn movie and not jerk off? What is this, an endurance race? Do you get punch cards for every time you don't whack it? I'm very confused.
Yeah, that is
very
confusing.
confused. And of course, that kind of fucked his career up for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and now Rubens was again arrested and charged with possession of child porn in 2002.
Oh.
The porn in question was these 1901 tintype photos in his art collection that depicted young men nude. From most accounts, these appeared to be men probably 18 or older, but you can't verify the age from 1901. So he was charged.
What the
And
fuck?
I feel like, honestly, if you read the case and stuff, it's a matter of the DA trying to make an example out of somebody.
But why him?
Because they kept repeating in headlines, we don't, the endangerment of children is not tolerated here. And so it was definitely a fucking, somebody saw his art collection and saw these tintype photos. Because honestly, I mean, they were doing nude photos in 1901. That's interesting to me. I could see why somebody would collect those.
Right.
So, basically what happened with that was he pled guilty. So they dropped the child porn charges and just gave him an obscene material charge.
Okay.
So basically he broke obscenity laws, even though these were in his house.
What the fuck?
I don't know. I guess the world will never be comfortable with Paul Rubens masturbating unless he digs a fucking 10-foot hole in the middle of the Adobe Desert and buries a trailer down there full of porn. I don't know.
guess.
And even then, they might dig it up and call him obscene. The comedian Fred Willard got in trouble for that. He was way older and he was retired already, but he got in trouble. And I remember people like, Fred Willard got caught jerking off. And so I'm thinking, oh shit, was Fred Willard just whacking it in front of people somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, he's at a porn theater.
Again.
What are you supposed to, I'm
Right.
confused. And then I'm like, well, what is a porn theater like? I've never been to one. So do you get dressed up to go watch porn? Is this like a legitimate theater presentation? I'm very confused because I thought those were the places you went to rub it out.
Yeah. I have no idea.
I mean, with the invention of the internet, I don't think there's much porn theaters around anymore.
I want to know if people got arrested for having sex in there.
Oh, all the time. I mean, we have a porn theater downtown. Dudes get arrested for fucking each other all the time in that place.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm like, you know what?
Wow.
Just let them.
Right?
It's fine. It's a designated area.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
As long as
It
you're
should
not on
be
the
legal.
street.
It should be fucking legal because
Yeah.
then you wouldn't have people fucking in bathrooms in public and shit.
Right.
I mean, people are gonna fuck. They're just gonna fuck. What this has to do with Serial Mom, I'll never know, but that's what I wanted to get my point across there.
Anyway.
Okay.
Let's get back
Let's
to
get back on track.
the movie. So when Beverly's alone, she calls Dottie and starts harassing her, and she calls her a cocksucker. And as she keeps calling her again and again, her friend shows up at her house and hears the shouting because Beverly's not shouting at her. But Beverly plays it off, and they talk about Dottie and how terrible it is that this is happening to her. Then we get a flashback of why Beverly hates Dottie so much. It's because Dottie took her parking spot at the grocery store.
Yes.
Like, cut her off.
Yes, and we see a little doodly-doo moment where fucking lashes into her, cutting her off and stuff. Her face. Kathleen Turner's fucking expressions.
She makes this face when she's pissed off.
Yeah, she doesn't even have to say a fucking word.
No.
Like, that's how well she does that face. Dottie, of course, is played by the wonderful Mink Stoll, who we're no stranger to by this time. You know, we've seen 2 movies with her in it. And it's great. It's honestly great to see her in a role like this. She's definitely playing against type here from what we've seen her play so far. Normally, she's way over the top and stuff like that. But in this one, she's a little dressed down. So the moments where she does go over the top, it makes it that much more hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she's the cursing.
Oh, it's so
cursing.
funny.
I don't know. It's so funny to watch a movie because we've seen movies with curse words all the time. I mean, curse words are on TV now.
Right.
But still, like, when these hit, they get you, and it's fucking hilarious. I don't know how, like I said, it's the magic of John Waters. We've talked about this.
Yes.
He has the ability to keep things funny even years later. Now, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, or a lot of our listeners remember, but do you remember a time when it was much easier to harass people on the telephone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And these poor people, you know, they couldn't get away from it because there was also a time when caller ID was a luxury item.
Yes.
So you could just continually call these people until they fucking broke down. But you had to, you know, you had to exercise a little caution because they could sometimes call the telephone service and have your shit cut off. Yeah, that was actually very, very dangerous. So you wanted to do it just to the point where they were getting so pissed off.
Right.
That they just, you know, then you stopped.
Then you stop.
Did you ever do a lot of prank calls when you were younger?
Nah, I don't think so. I'm trying to think about it. No, not really.
We used to call and do the dumbest things, like not the Prince Albert in the can or your refrigerator running or anything like that. I remember we would just call and just breathe heavy into the phone. And by today's standards, that's fucking scary. Like, if someone called me and was breathing heavy into the phone, I would be afraid out of my mind. But back then, it was like, oh, you damn kids, and let's just hang up and stuff. Or you'd call someone and fart into the phone.
Oh, because you're a boy.
Yeah, you'd fart into the phone. Or call somebody and have a horror movie playing. They're killing me.
Oh, my gosh. God. That's what you've been saying when they call me.
Yes, you always... So when Brittany gets calls from these telemarketers and stuff and insurance people and whoever, I'll just be in the background. Oh, God, they're killing me. I'm being murdered.
They hang up real fucking fast.
One of these days they're going to call the cops. we're going to get a bleeding heart person in one of these telemarketer jobs. There was someone being murdered. But yeah, next time someone calls you like that, don't just hang up or block their number. Just start screaming into the phone. You don't even have to scream, help me, they're murdering me. Just scream into the fucking phone.
Give your phone to your toddler.
Yes. Have them talk to him. Yes. That's funny.
They'll ask 5 million questions.
Now, okay, one question Brittany had was, why are we doing these films for Pride?
Yes.
Okay. I know. There are so many other movies that we could have done to represent the community. There's a lot of great queer horror movies out there. A lot on Shudder. Shudder's the best place to go for those, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
In the simplest terms I can come up with, it's because all of John's films challenge our societal norms. It might be hard to see that now, but Pink Flamingos, I mean, looked at what we perceived as filth.
Right.
Stuff, showed it to us. Really challenges your ideals.
Right.
That's what a shock movie should do. That's a good shock movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's shock that challenges you, and then there's shock that is just for shock's sake.
And that was Pink Flamingos.
Yes, but it still kind of challenged you a little bit. Polyester kind of got you on the idea of what a suburban housewife was and stuff like that, and what suburbia truly was and stuff, and really challenges your ideas of like how we perceive suburban life. You know, it's not picturesque and ideal,
Right.
as flyers would have you think of it. And today's feature takes true crime, something many people think should be handled with care and respect, and turns it into a cartoonish comedy. But besides just being a gay man himself, John Waters does what we should all do. No matter what community we belong in, we should challenge the norms. We should challenge the idea of what makes someone straight or gay or pansexual. We should challenge the perception of gender and sexuality. What makes someone a man and what makes someone female. All these labels, we should be challenged them too. I mean, let's dismantle the idea of heterosexuality. Gays and lesbians should go and have sex with each other in the street. Really blow the church hats off of everyone.
Hell yeah.
That's right, fuck the system. If this country is truly free, we should all be equal no matter what naughty bits we prefer to suck on. Let the kink community sing and spank it to the mountain. Let the gay bars and gay bears and chub community walk through the streets naked in leather. Lesbians, bisexuals, pansexuals, trans brothers and sisters, march through the streets, burn the flag, hell, burn all the flags, and become one under these United States, because we truly will never be free until we, the people, are equal and allowed to fuck who we want. Fucking amen, hail Satan, and fuck good taste.
Can you stop? What the fuck was that?
All right, okay, so mostly I chose John Waters movies because he's a celebrated queer icon and his films embrace queer culture big and small, but you know.
R.I.P. headphone users. Beverly goes to meet with Chip's math teacher. Okay, by the way, I have to have a little rant about this for a second.
Okay.
They call this a PTA meeting.
It's just two people.
It is a parent-teacher conference.
Yeah, I thought the PTA was like a group of people who like look down upon you.
Because PTA stands for Parent Teacher Association.
Oh, yeah. The
Not a
Harper
parent-
Valley PTA. You remember that song?
Yes, I do. Anyway, so he says that Chip is doing good, but he has an unhealthy obsession with horror films.
Sound like somebody you know.
So this is Lee's math teacher
Yes.
in high school.
It really is. Literally, my mom had a teacher complain about this.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like he's smart. He's very smart. But he just has an unhealthy obsession with movies.
Yes. He says he starts asking about the home life, and Beverly says that they are loving and supportive parents, and he recommends therapy for Chip. Well, this pisses Beverly off. So after the meeting, Beverly is driving out of the parking lot, and she sees the teacher walking to his car. So she ends up flooring it, hitting him with the car, then backs up and runs his ass over. And then we see this stoner chick watching this whole thing happen.
Yeah, and it's really funny because Bev is not careful with her murders. She just
No.
fucking kills motherfuckers. Now, of course, we've discussed how a lot of things that happened in John's childhood end up as little points in his movies, you know. And John really did hate school. The teachers were brutal, and mostly they discouraged any interest he had. I think he went to, like, Catholic school. John Waters went to Catholic school.
Oh, wow.
So most of the time, he would sit in class drawing ideas of a movie theater that showed all the films the adults would say sent you to hell if you watched them. I did sort of the same thing. I would not so much drawing a movie theater or something like that, but mostly I would write like stories and stuff, and just these brutal fucking stories, and draw all these drawings and stuff that like 10 years like from the time I was in that class, 10 years like back from that time, I probably would have been committed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It would have been a serious issue. Now, you know, at this school, you know, apparently Divine would also get tortured nonstop by the other kids and the teachers.
Oh.
You know, John and his friends were never fucking accepted. I don't know if we talked about this, but during the time they were younger and stuff, there was like, you mostly had two factions, which were like beatniks and hippies.
Okay.
John and his crew were more like what you would call freakniks.
Freakniks.
Just
Okay.
like well, we talked about this before, the minorities of the minority. They just didn't fit in, but they did fit in with their own people. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like Edith Massey, Divine, all these people, the Dreamlanders and stuff. They're all friends. In fact, like they're such good friends. They have funeral plots together, not too far away from where Divine is buried. So they'll all be in the same cemetery in Baltimore.
Oh, that's cute.
I know, it's actually very sweet. But, you know, you could see this as kind of like a fictional catharsis for him. Just killing this fucking teacher. And now this murder originally was much more brutal and a little longer, but they cut it a bit so because this would have been the most brutal death in the movie. And you kind of don't want to do that because it's the first death. It's still kind of shocking, but you don't want your first death to be kind of brutal.
Right.
Because, you know, the last death is the most meanest. It's more brutal than this one.
Yeah.
Well, the death before juror number 8 is fucking killed is the brutal one, which I think it's a better idea. It's kind of a better pacing, you know. Now, of course, times had changed, and the staff at this school was much more accepting, and they even let the student body watch as they filmed this murder scene of a teacher.
Wow.
So it's like, let's all go out. John Waters is shooting a movie, y'all.
Wow. So after school, Scotty, Birdie, and Chip are watching a horror movie, and Scotty's getting freaked out. Beverly brings them cookies and makes Birdie and Scotty leave because she wants to talk to Chip. She talks to him about how hard it is to be a teenager. They blah, 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 chat, whatever. It's not a big deal. And then she wants to watch this movie with Chip. And this is our first, like, gory part of the movie. Because there's, like, insides of people. Because I think they were talking about it being, like, a sheep's tongue or something like that.
And now the film they were watching here with the sheep's tongue, that's Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Feast. Herschel Gordon Lewis is another Giants inspiration for John Waters, and he was an early Godfather gore. Like,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a few of his movies on the shelf there behind you. But of course I do.
Of course.
And this was me in high school, only throw a lot more black clothes and decor around, you know. I had a goat head on my wall, like a fake goat head with like a pentagram.
Oh my God.
There was a time when I was younger that my parents were kind of worried about me. Because I remember my dad would come in one day and he was like, you know, we let you do whatever. It's cool. It's cool. Why is everything so dark? I was like, it's like a horror movie in here. And he's like, oh, so you're not like worshiping Satan? No. Oh, I don't even believe in Satan. Oh, all right. Cool.
Whatever.
Whatever. All right. See you later, son. He did, however, I had a really unhealthy appetite for Weird Al Yankovic. That used to be the only music I listened to way back in the day when I was very young. My dad changed that very fast.
He's like, what?
He's like, get in the truck. We're going music shopping. He literally took me to a record store with CDs, not really records, and let me buy just a stack of CDs.
Wow.
Now, for real, this was my mom. And I love how Bev comes in here because Scotty is getting sick over the movie.
Yes.
He doesn't have the stomach for it. And he goes to go out of the room and she just jump scares into the fucking frame.
But only him. It doesn't jump scare.
Yeah, it just
like
scares him.
in the movie. Yeah.
And he hasn't even figured out that she's a murderer yet. I just love, she's like, I just feel so great today. Cookies? But yeah, this was kind of my mom bringing me cookies and shit and being like, oh, is that lady getting murdered? Shit like that. They didn't care really what I watched. I was blessed with parents that weren't normal.
Right.
And in fact, my mom took me to see I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream in theaters. That's where I saw those. And both my parents took me to see Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I mean, that was like a family outing for us.
Yes. Oh, Halloween is highly, highly celebrated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Halloween's a big deal in our house.
Yeah.
Still to this day, you know, we don't have the parties like we used to because my parents are older, you know, everybody's moved out. Mostly Halloween's for the grandkids nowadays. But like they used to get into the holiday. I'll have to have my dad tell you, but he would, him and my mom had, they would woodwork, make their own decorations
Oh,
for
wow.
Halloween. So my dad made a coffin that could open and a dead body would come out and stuff.
Oh,
And they
damn.
made a witch's tent for my sister to go into. And, you know, I don't know if you remember back in the day, it's lame by today's standards, but they would have the table full of stuff you'd feel. Like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the witch's hair. And this is her eyes.
Yes.
I remember they would make it so scary that one year they had to take down my dad used to have these little werewolves and stuff that would move and stuff. And it was scaring kids away and they wouldn't go up to the front door to get candy. So they had to like turn those off and put them back inside so kids would come get their candy.
Oh.
Oh, but it was great. It was great. It was,
Yeah.
it was a very horror-filled house. You can't tell it now because I think
No.
my parents are in retirement, but it was.
Well, they
it was
did
cool
stay
back
up
in the day.
real late watching horror movies with your sister and brother-in-law, like the last couple years.
Oh yeah, like we celebrate every holiday, but Halloween and Christmas are the biggest ones in my
yeah.
house. It's funny. Thanksgiving's kind of big.
Yeah.
It used to be
But
bigger.
they also celebrate like Arbor Day and shit like that.
It's true. It's true. You know the stereotype of the family feasts. Like
Yes.
my family literally has feasts for every holiday.
Yeah.
Somebody graduates, we're having a feast.
Oh, tomorrow.
It's a very Mexican household in that
Yes.
situation. It's about the only thing that my mom took from her Hispanic heritage is just cooking like these big family meals
All
for
the
everybody.
time.
Yeah.
And if you didn't find something you liked, she'd make something else for you.
There's always like 20 different things.
Yes.
So like when you go there, it's not like hamburger or something. Well, we got hamburgers and chips. It's like, no, we got hamburgers, hot dogs,
Brisket,
fucking
turkey.
brisket. You want some pig? We fucking roasted a pig. You want-
Yes. Oh, it's great. I can't wait to go tomorrow.
I know, right?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow's your sister's birthday and Father's Day.
Oh,
so
yeah. This is the feast.
the feast. So the family sits down and has dinner together, and Misty's talking about losing weight for Carl, and everyone says that he's a jerk, but they're happy if she's happy. Rosemary, the neighbor, she comes running in the door, freaking out, and says that the teacher at the school had been murdered. Birdie calls Chip and says it's cool, like a real-life horror movie.
And I love it. I love how excited they are about it until they actually do see some gore
Yes.
later on.
And the girl that saw it happen is on the news, and she's describing Beverly's car.
Yeah, and that's the point of the movie where she's like, they showed her with her hair like that. And okay, now John said that if Divine was alive, he would have played Rosemary.
Oh,
That would have
I
been
can see
his
that.
part. Yeah, and of course it would have been a different character, but still, I really wish Divine hadn't died. We would have got so many good stuff. But okay, so how you feeling so far about the movie?
Oh, I love it.
Like you're getting into
Oh,
it.
I love it.
Like the pacing here is very fast.
Oh, yes, very fast.
Yeah, like it gets you in and out. Like
There's not really any backstory. I don't need a backstory. And as it goes, it tells you the story. It tells you what you need to know. And it doesn't drag out what you need to know.
and most of his later stuff, you know, because his older things, he was cutting like hours of footage away just to get a good runtime and get the pacing right. But you know, these later things, he shot when he wanted. He didn't really have to cut a lot of these movies, these later movies. And they're all like this. Nice, quippy pace, gets you in and out. You don't need a bunch of useless little backstories or subplots. It's all just streamlined.
Right.
And that's the wonderful thing about John Waters movies.
So later that night, Beverly and Eugene lay down for bed, and Beverly wants to fuck. They say they are going to be super quiet in case the kids are awake, but she's being loud as fuck. All he does is like rub her arm, and she's like, ah! Okay, calm down, crazy. Like, what the fuck?
It's so fucking funny.
Yes.
And like I said, like, I didn't really get a lot of behind the scenes stuff for this one.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot out there because it is what it is. But like, everybody's having a good time.
Oh, yeah.
They're having a blast. But yeah, in the worst part about this is they can hear the kids, and like this has got to be like your worst nightmare, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad. If my parents had sex, I didn't hear it. So I lived a blissful life of just ignoring it and thinking my parents just didn't ever have sex.
Your parents had sex.
Yeah, my parents had sex all the time from what I hear, and I don't really want to know about it.
They have sex still. I guarantee it.
Probably. I
look
don't
on
want to
your
think about it.
face.
My parents are asexual. I was formed out of the mud.
The mud?
Yes, biblically. I was formed biblically.
But let's talk about how they're fucking like doing jumping jacks and shit.
It is not normal fucking.
No. So he's on top of her,
Uh-huh.
but she's like bouncing. I don't know how to fucking explain it. They're not thrusting, they are bouncing. Like if they were on a trampoline and they were just laying on top of each other and someone else was bouncing the trampoline, that's what's
Yes.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's straight up trampoline fucking. Can you
Yes.
fuck on a trampoline?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Have you done that?
No,
No?
I have not, but you can.
You want to get a trampoline?
No.
Damn it. You're not fun.
What?
I'm joking. You're actually tons of fun.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? We had sex like. Have we had sex in the car? Not in the car, on the car? Did we have sex on the car?
We had sex on my truck one time. I bent you over the
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
I don't know if our listeners, not in front of the listeners. Now, some hardcore mom and dad sex we get here. Well, okay, not really hardcore. Sam Waterston, who plays Eugene. Now, he had already had a fantastic career before this. He was in, oh fuck, I can't remember Sam Waterston movies off the top of my head, but he was in a lot of like court dramas and stuff like that, and a lot of he's just had a great career. Now Sam and Kathleen actually came up with this scene,
wow.
the moves that they do here, because in Waterston, you know, you read you're having sex, and he was a little worried, you know, what was going to be shown, and John was like, no, we're not going to show your ass or anything. It's supposed to be funny. This is supposed to be funny, and so they came up with these moves to do. And again, you could tell, and Sam Waterston, he's a very good actor, but you can tell he's on the verge of busting out laughing.
Yeah.
Like there are several moments in this movie where he's about to crack the fuck up, and I love it.
It's great. It's great.
That energy that everybody's having a good time really comes across the screen,
Right.
because all this stuff, sure, it could be in bad taste. You know, that was a lot of people's worries when they were making the film. That was on people's minds, where it's like, are we glorifying serial killers? You know, because at the time it was kind of a no-no.
Yeah.
But like, it's just so funny. Like, and they were like, no, we're just having a good time.
Right. So the next morning, Beverly is bird watching, and Eugene gets a phone call about a dental emergency because he's a dentist, and he has to go into the office and help. Beverly is pissed, so she goes down to make breakfast. Misty's crying because Carl stood her up, and she says, she was like, I just wish he would die. I could just kill him. And Beverly's like, you need to watch what you say. And the detectives are outside snooping around the house, and they end up knocking on the door, and they talk to Beverly about the teacher. They said that her car is the only blue station wagon registered at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And Eugene defends her and asks them to leave. But as they're leaving, they find a magazine with the letter P cut out of it. Because that letter in the beginning, it wasn't handwritten. It was magazine cut out.
I love that her worst thing she does is pussy. Like, that's the worst.
Yes. She was like, at the beginning, she's like, I've never even said that word.
Which,
such a terrible
again,
word.
Kathleen Turner does a fucking fantastic job, because this dialogue is really goofy.
Yes.
Like, her dialogue for the most part is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, and even John Waters says that. He's like, her dialogue's ridiculous, but Kathleen Turner turns it into this like believable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see these detectives going through the garbage. John Waters had like a phobia of that. Like people going through his garbage and shit. He has paper shredders just to do that. And I actually had a certain ex, I can't say names, lawsuits and whatnot, but not that she could afford it, but lawsuits and stuff. I had a certain ex who would dig in my garbage when I lived at an apartment.
What?
Yeah, she would like go through my garbage bags, looking for God knows what.
The one that lived there?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I did. God knows what she was looking for because I was already living with another woman. So I was like, well, it's all right here. I don't like. What
How
are you
does she
looking
know
for?
it's your garbage, though? Does she watch you take the trash out?
Yeah,
Then it didn't happen very often because you never take the fucking trash out.
yeah.
Yeah.
It happened once or twice, but it freaks me out. So now I got so fucking paranoid from that. So like now I tear up all my letters and throw them away. But you know, it's a real fear. Like people going through your garbage, like God knows what they could fucking do with your shit. Like, you know, and back at this time, people could probably do some damage with some of your numbers and stuff. It's a little different nowadays. But now also, you know, this magazine, I'm pretty sure they made this for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because they could not get anyone to put a product placement in this. Like, no one's going to. Who wants to be a cereal mom's favorite soda or something like that?
I mean, I think it's cool.
Yeah, so most of the stuff you see is fake.
Oh, except for Wheel of Fortune later.
Oh, that's true. They do have Wheel of Fortune.
But you could show those things back
I think
then.
so. Do you think you could show, like, public television shows?
A clip of it, yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, why not?
That's true.
They never even, like, maybe I saw Vanna White, but that's
True.
it. Like,
well,
for a
you
second.
know, like television stations, and so that's probably like what, NBC or something. Those things are a little bit more different than products,
Right,
you know?
right. So the recycling people show up, and we see Rosemary not recycling her trash.
It's so important in this
Yes,
universe. Recycling
yes.
is such a big deal.
But Beverly is recycling
Oh,
her
she
trash.
recycles all the time.
And this pisses her off, and she grabs these scissors. And she she's going over there
Yes.
to stab
There's
her.
so many times where she grabs something and she's gonna murder, and then she just like sees something. It's like she gets a little distracted and loses that murder.
I'll
mood.
do that
It's like,
later.
oh, the garbage man.
Yes, she sees them outside. So she takes them some alcohol shooters. And they're talking about how Rosemary doesn't recycle and how they should kill her.
Yeah, he's like,
What?
somebody should kill her.
I'm like, what? In my mind, okay, after watching this a couple of times, I was like, okay, I know they're saying this, but is she imagining them say this? Or do they really
Good question.
say it?
Good question. I think they really say it. Like,
It's a little
because if you notice later, her not recycling kind of discounts her testimony.
right.
That's such an important thing to everybody.
Right.
But John, he actually said when he was growing up, you know, and he's always respected garbage men, you know, and he said growing up in Baltimore that most of his neighbors would give the garbage men liquor. Like they give him little shooters as like a present and
Just
stuff like that.
drive around drunk, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? A drunk garbage man.
That's safe. Anyway.
You gotta collect the garbage. This is a good garbage day.
Just imagine how hot.
Oh God. It would be terrible to be drunk and driving around a garbage truck.
Yeah.
Just the smell alone.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
That is why you should respect your garbage men.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's a tough, fast job, man.
Oh, yeah. So Dottie and Rosemary are hanging out, and Beverly goes over to see them.
She sneaks up on them.
Yes,
It's
like, what the fuck?
She's like her poking up over the windowsill looking. And they are both watching a Joan Rivers talk show. And Joan she shot that for this movie where she's sitting there discussing serial hags, women who are obsessed with serial killers. And Joan actually did this on her own. John wasn't even there to direct it or anything.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know if Joan Rivers was in a horror movie, but I would love to do an episode on Joan Rivers. She would be so much fun to talk about. That was quite a lady.
So Beverly asks if the plant that Rosemary has is a pussy willow.
I don't think I've ever heard the word pussy willow said quite like this. It's very
Pussy willow.
very
I
threatening.
can't do it.
Because of Kathleen Turner. She has that like husky voice.
Yeah.
She's always had that kind of voice. And the pussy willow. It's so fucking funny.
Well, Dottie recognizes her voice from the phone.
Mhm.
So Beverly smashes a Fabergé egg, blames it on Dottie, and then rushes Rosemary out the door to take her to the antique market to buy another one.
Which again, just fucking Kathleen Turner chewing up this scenery.
Oh, yeah.
Just,
oh, yeah.
oh, she's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love that. My Franklin Mint Fabergé egg. Oh, fuck.
Oh, back in the day, those things.
Yes, Franklin Mint, man, they're still turning out. So you can still order Franklin Mint stuff. Like,
I don't even know what that means.
it's just the company.
Oh, okay.
Like Franklin Mint, like they had Fabergé eggs. They sometimes have little like dolls and just
they
the
have-
shit that you see in catalogs that
have
your mom used to read.
Franklin Mint coins?
I think that's the something mint.
Oh,
like the
okay,
coin
okay.
mint.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what that. Maybe, I don't know. They sold a bunch of housewife shit. Like you would always see it in the back of the papers, like the National Enquirer and stuff. You always saw ads for like stuff you could order from
yeah.
Franklin Mint,
Yeah.
like cuckoo clocks and all sorts of bullshit stuff that was like supposed to look like, what is that fucking paintings that are boring as shit that are landscapes?
Oh, yeah, I know. What
I
you're
don't
talking
even remember. It's on the tip of my goddamn tongue. I don't know. I'm not even gonna guess because we're taking time. But,
I don't know what they're
but
called.
I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about.
So Eugene is drilling in Mr. Sterner's mouth, and he is getting pissed because he won't hold still. And Mr. S says that it hurts really bad and starts shouting. So Mrs. S goes back there to get Eugene to stop, and they get interrupted by the detectives. They end up questioning Eugene and asking him about Beverly's true crime books. And Eugene says, those must be Chip's. And they confirmed that they're hers. And they ask if she's mental.
Which is funny because back in the day, like if you had these books and stuff, you would people would look at you a little sideways,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like, oh, wait, why are you reading these? So
Right.
it's really like this movie really does act as a timepiece for that kind of thinking, which is really funny compared to what we have today. So it's almost like over time, this movie has become more of a comedy.
Oh,
Like the
yeah.
stuff that aren't even jokes is funny. Because we're like, what? Every housewife in America probably watches true crime stuff.
Hell yeah, they do.
Yes. I'm sorry if I'm demeaning housewives with that word. I don't know. Can you call someone a housewife now?
I think they're called stay-at-home moms now.
There you go. Stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home
Person?
spouse. There you go. That sounds
Person.
a stay-at-home person.
Yeah.
Which is a full-time fucking job on its own. Jesus Christ.
And you don't get fucking paid for it.
No, or no respect. Rodney Dangerfield, just no respect. I get no respect. And anyway, I do love, if you look on the back of his wall in his office, and I love that they made him a dentist instead of like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. I don't know what it is about dentistry that cracks me the fuck up. Like, it's just a funny profession for some reason.
Why?
Like, because you're just in people's mouth, and like this is like all about horror, and really going to the dentist is a horror show in its own.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
I mean, that shit's
Oh, yeah.
scary. But yeah, on the back of this wall, that's Vance Smith did that painting of the happy tooth there.
Oh, okay.
And Vance Smith did a lot of the decor and costumes in this movie. Again, you know, he's been with John Waters from the beginning.
So at the antique market, Beverly sees Carl with another girl. And Rosemary ends up buying a fire poker instead of the Fabergé egg because the Fabergé egg had a chip in it. And Beverly is watching Carl, and she follows him and the girl he's with the fire poker. And Carl goes into the bathroom, and she follows him. Dun, dun, dun.
Now, Carl's date here, which I love it because they find that, that Franklin Mint egg and shit like that.
Right.
It's like, oh, Franklin Mint.
Right.
Like I said, you know, John Waters loves focusing on obsessions. Like, he loves doing that because it just makes it so funny. Like, everybody cares about fucking recycling here. For some reason, everyone's in love with these Franklin Mint Fabergé eggs. It's just this is funny. It's just part of his joke. Now, Carl's date here, though, is the lovely Tracy Lords. Now, Lords has a very controversial background, if you don't know. She has been in quite a few porn movies. I think
I was about to say, was
80,
she a porn star?
Yes, 80 to 100.
Oh, wow.
But you probably haven't seen her porn because when she did those, she was much, much too young.
Oh.
Probably about 15 or 14.
Oh.
And she was quite good at it from what... She was very good at passing as someone older. In fact, all those movies were destroyed. Most of them. I think you can only find 2 of her adult films that were done legally.
Oh, wow.
Maybe legally. There's a weird blurry line of that. Now, she had duped photographers and directors with a fake birth certificate. And the fact that she was way more developed than girls of her age. She looked a lot older at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly helped.
Right.
The only legal movie she ever really made was Tracy, I Love You in 1987. And after some time, she went away and she resurfaced because she got arrested for this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And after some time, she kind of went away and resurfaced and started acting in mainstream stuff. She always her main goal was to become an actor. But, for most younger girls, porn is kind of a gateway.
Yeah.
It's an easy way in. And after some time, she popped up and started doing stuff like mainstream things like Married with Children, Roseanne, MacGyver, Nash Bridges. Her big break actually was in the remake of Roger Corman's Not of This Earth from 1988. Now, one thing Tracy speaks out against, and something I really agree with, is the fact that women in Hollywood who have colorful pasts are often put down and shamed.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the men in Hollywood. I mean, fucking Tim Allen was a fucking coke dealer back in the day. And yes, but he gets a pass and stars in every Disney movie known to man nowadays.
Right.
Jesus Christ. So there's a very huge double standard there.
Oh, yeah.
She's been in a few Waters movies, films including Crybaby. She's the sister in that. Crybaby's sister. Honestly, I think Hollywood and even the federal government really hated her because she made them look like fucking morons.
Oh, really?
It was her choice to go into porn.
Well, yeah.
She wasn't forced. I mean, she was just a way for her to make money. And at the time, she was broke. I mean, what are you going to do? So she faked a passport. She faked a passport and she faked a birth certificate and an ID. And she got as far as she did.
Wow.
Like I said, 80 to 100 movies she made before they caught on.
That's crazy.
First off, like I said, that fake birth certificate that she made up. The federal government was at one time trying to charge the producers of this one movie, Those Young Girls, that was the name of the movie. I think this was in France. They tried to prosecute her for that, and they had to drop their case because she made them look like fucking idiots because she had that fake passport.
Oh, wow.
So they had to admit they fucking passed her passport.
Right.
And I think she even had a fake passport on the movie Tracy, I Love You from 1987. So she kind of just did her thing and made money off of men being idiots.
Good.
Yeah,
you
totally.
get that bag, girl.
Yeah. It's insanely hard. What I really respect to Tracy Lords, it's insanely hard to go from porn, especially, questionable porn like what she was doing, and then go to mainstream movies. It's so hard to do that because of how looked down upon pornography is by the rest of society. The Last Drive-In, Darcy the Mail Girl, she did a lot of porn.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't know her from anything but porn. Like when I first found out I was like, I've seen her before.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I've seen her before. I don't talk about it online or anything because I don't think she really cares to discuss that. It was just a job for her.
Right.
Which it is. For most of these women, it's just a job. And I don't understand why society looks down upon them for it because they do. Like, people online are brutal about her past.
Oh,
and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It was just a job. Those people are just coworkers. And honestly, they're just acting too. And they have a harder job than most actors.
Oh, yeah.
I respect pornography actors to an immense state because, I mean, that's a tough ass job. Especially because when I watch like this making of porn thing where you find out how long these scenes you watch, because you'll be watching a 30-minute scene. Really, that took 4 hours to fucking film. And, you got guys popping pills to keep hard. It's not that fun of an experience.
No.
It's just a job, and I really think we all need to kind of look at it like that.
So she ends up hiding in a stall, and there's like a glory hole. I'm going to call it that. And a man sees her in there, and he ends up running out. Beverly sneaks out, stabs Carl with the poker, pulls it out, and his liver comes out with it. I think it's his liver.
Yes. Yeah, it's his liver.
She gets it off the poker and almost slips on it, and then leaves the bathroom. A little bit later, a man comes in and sees Carl and starts screaming, and a crowd of people just go running.
He does. Sorry. He lets out basically like a fucking Wilhelm scream. It's like,
Yes.
and the whole time he's holding this little like shish kebab. I don't know why that part cracks me up, but
Because Carl just got shish kebab.
yeah, and I love the glory hole in this movie. Like it's just a fuck. Of course, it's a John Waters movie, so there's a fucking glory hole.
Oh yeah.
In this bathroom. But I think what really cracks me up about the scene the most is the little inconveniences, like you said, she has with this liver, because it's like she stabs this dude, pulls it out, and she did not expect to bring a liver out, which is definitely a Herschel Gordon Lewis moment. And she's like, ew. She's get off the poker, and then she slips a little.
So Beverly goes back over and sits with Rosemary, and Rosemary sees blood on Beverly's shoe and is grossed out. Misty tells Beverly that about Carl being dead, and then Rosemary finds blood on the poker. She's getting suspicious.
Rosemary needs to mind her own business. I certainly would not go turning in my murderer neighbor.
No.
I know that sounds terrible, but I live next to them. What if it doesn't stick?
Right.
What if it doesn't stick? Because then I'm going to get murdered in my sleep.
Well, I mean, anyway.
I could still get murdered by my wife because I'm making her watch all these movies. Is that what you're going for?
Yes.
Apparently a mobster really wants to buy this Pee-wee doll. Like, where did this mobster guy come from? It's like
know.
the fucking Italian mob.
He bought it for like $125 or some shit like that.
Those things I think are going for a lot now, especially now. I don't know about 94. I think Pee-wee's Playhouse ended in like 88. So maybe not. Maybe, though. I don't know.
I feel like that was a lot of money back then, though.
You think so? Apparently not for the mob. He had that money.
Right.
He said, gotta buy a Pee-wee doll. I want you to take 120 and go buy me a Pee-wee doll. I like that Pee-wee ornament.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so Eugene is at home and he finds Beverly's collection of newspaper clippings about murderers. Then finds a tape and plays it, and it's from Ted Bundy complaining about being lonely on death row.
I love it. I'm 6 hours away from my execution, and it's really lonely here.
Right. Then he sees on the news that Carl has been murdered.
And these are real clippings from serial killers, news articles and stuff. And most of this stuff come from what John Waters already had, you know?
Right.
But of course, that's John Waters. That's Ted Bundy here on the tape. It's just so funny because like he doesn't even like try to disguise his voice. It's just fucking John Waters. It's
pretty obvious. He's got a very distinct voice though.
He really does. It's part of that, you know, because he's very cheery, but like it's also that Baltimore accent that he has, you know.
Right.
I can't even do it.
No,
I can't
don't even try.
I don't want to do that because that feels offensive.
Don't even try. So Chip, Birdie, and Scotty are watching a movie at the video store of a woman killing someone. Misty comes in and says that Mom is a Manson. And Chip and everyone make jokes about borrowing Beverly to kill people.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like we've been mentioning Manson in every movie you know, you can definitely see how much John really liked the Manson trials. And like I said, he befriended Leslie Van Houten. You know, he even tried to he even proposed her, you know, her release.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because honestly, those Manson girls were washed. Charlie did a fucking number on them.
Of course.
And like it's decades later to where they were now the other two are dead, but Leslie Van Houten is still alive, and honestly, she's reformed, man. And that's one thing you'll notice about all John Waters movies. He really does believe in reform. He's anti-death penalty, so
Right.
kind of like me. I don't believe in the death penalty. I think it's a ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
I know everybody's like, well, yeah, but if somebody killed your child, wouldn't you want them to die? It's like, kind of, but kind of not. Like, I think we need to keep these motherfuckers alive to learn.
Right.
Like, we still don't really know why serial killers kill.
We need to study them. Yes.
Yeah, we still don't really know because we keep killing
Right.
them. Like, or allowing them to be killed.
And the problem, unfortunately, the problem is when people go to prison, even for life, life, I'm using air quotes here.
Yeah.
The prison reform, there is no prison reform. It's not like they're able to do anything productive. Like, I don't know. This is a whole subject that I have opinions on that.
No, I understand. Like, the point of prisons was to reform people.
Right.
That's supposed to be what they're for, but they're not reforming.
They're
anymore.
not doing that anymore.
They're just, even life sentences. I don't even know if that's. I mean, yes, some people do deserve to be in prison for the rest of their lives.
Right.
There are some people that are extremely terrible people. But for the most part, like Leslie Van Houten, yeah, she did participate in the Manson murders, but at the same time, like, I feel like that's a special case.
I think that instead of just throwing them in there and locking the key, or what is it called?
Mhm.
Putting him there and throwing away the key, is they need to really dig into these people's mental health.
Yeah, they really do. And honestly, like, God help you if you were committed to death, because you sit around in death row for the longest fucking time.
Yeah.
Which is a goddamn joke. I mean, really, when you think about the whole last meal thing, that is a huge punchline to a decade-long joke that they fucking do to these people.
Oh, yeah.
They give you all this shitty food, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's the good food, but you're going to die.
Yeah.
Like, it's so
There was
fucked
one
up.
guy, I listened to this TikTok lady, and she does Last Meal Mondays, and she describes somebody's last meal or whatever and their crimes and what they did
Yeah.
and stuff. Well, this one guy, he ordered all this fucking food because they have a price limit or whatever.
Yeah.
And he orders all this food, and they bring it to him, and he says, I don't want it.
And it's kind of funny.
I mean,
Like-
you're going to die anyway. Does it matter?
Like, I get, I get for the victims' families and
Oh.
stuff. I know there's there's a certain, you want to be gentle with them,
Right,
like, because they
right.
did lose somebody, and there's somebody who won't get rehabilitated out of death. So
Right.
I understand that, but in reality, I mean, is killing that person gonna bring them back? It's not.
It's not.
And most of the time, when you hear these interviews with the families afterwards, it's not a
not a relief.
relieving situation. It's more like a confusion.
Right.
Like, well, I'm glad justice was served, but what now?
Right.
Like,
And that I kind of saw both sides of it when I did that jury trial.
Mhm.
And that's why I was so like fucked up in the brain, is because I see this person that made this split second decision on an angry moment. He just had a bad fucking day. Just like Beverly said, he just had a bad fucking day. And he made this decision that was fucking stupid. And I saw what I saw from the other side was two moms that lost their children that day. Not just that day, but I saw two moms that lost one. Her son was murdered. The other one, her son's going to be in prison for most of his life.
It's a very strange situation. when you
And
get
all
down
he
to it.
did was have a bad day.
I know that wasn't I'm sorry. I know you didn't do that
Yes.
as a joke.
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
If you were listening to me.
Yeah, it's, definitely for like Leslie Van Houten's case, I think she's like in her 70s now. Like, is it really a danger to society to let her
Right.
go? Especially after she's even admitted, she was a stupid teenager,
Right.
when she did
And-
her crime. She was
and-
brainwashed.
That's why on our trial that we did life with the possibility of parole. So he's going to do at least 38 years. Okay. And he was
Yeah.
24.
Because how are you going to complain? How are you going to claim that prisons are reform? And when you're not reforming anyone.
Right.
In fact, most of the people that go in there for like weed charges just come out being better criminals.
Right. Right.
Like it's a school. Like, so I don't know, man.
But we really felt like we all agreed that we felt like once he gets out, he's going to be old because what's 24 plus 38? 61. I don't know.
And
I
at
can't
that
do
time,
math.
is he a danger to society?
And that's what we were talking
know?
about. And we really felt like this was just a crime of passion. And
Yeah.
I know that's a little cliche to say,
Well,
but
you
it
know.
was. And because he killed his girlfriend's boyfriend.
Yeah,
which is very
and like I
weird,
said,
but-
like with these serial killers and stuff, even them, I don't think we should be putting them to death. Like, I think we really should learn from them.
Right.
Really research them and study them, because we haven't really, because the ones that are alive are the ones that have like turned over to Christianity and stuff, and they're not
Right.
talking about their crimes. They don't talk about that shit. So like the ones that are alive won't talk about it. And so like, but you could have had some people that were alive, that you kept alive,
Right.
that maybe would have discussed it with somebody over time.
Bundy.
But I don't know. Bundy was
Not
full
Bundy.
of himself.
Dahmer.
Dahmer.
That's
Dahmer
what I meant.
definitely
That's
did.
what I
He
meant.
gave interviews up
Right.
until his death.
Like, can we give them the option? Be like, okay, you did all these crimes.
And I'm not saying let him go free.
No.
Like,
That's
first
what
of
I'm
all,
saying.
I'm not
either.
saying that. I know a lot of people will really be like, so you just want to just send them back out? No, not
No.
talking about that for them.
But I think what they should do is they should say, okay, you're getting charged with all these crimes. We're not going to charge you with death, but what we're going to do is you're going to go through a series of mental health evaluations
Right.
over the years, and you're going to answer to us.
Right, because I know everybody's like, well, there's no serial killers anymore. It's like, yeah, that you know of.
Right.
Give it about 10, 15 years. You know, we might find some shit out here pretty soon. There might be some serial killers down the road that we
Right.
don't even know that are operating. Like we talked
Right.
about on True Crime Month, we talked about how you know, the U.S. highways are the fucking killing fields now. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Dead bodies turn up all the time.
Did you hear about it was like the school principal's backyard that they found like 200 and something dead bodies buried?
Yeah. I
That
did
was
read
just like what a month ago or something.
Yeah, so
like
the
that?
shit's still going on.
Yeah.
And we really don't have a handle on it. We can
No.
sit here and claim, you know, the McDonald's triad and shit, but that's been proved wrong a bunch of times. And so it's just, you know, I think
McDonald's triad.
if I kind of explained it on our True Crime Month, if you guys want to go back and listen to that,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
learn a little something about that and stuff. The bedwetting, and fire setting, animal torture, and
I got
stuff.
you. I got
But
you.
not all serial killers did that kind of stuff. So we still don't have a firm grasp
Right.
on why. And I think we really have to. But let's get back to serial.
I'm
Mom.
sorry. So the family sits down to have dinner, and Eugene wants to pray about the tragedies that have happened in the past few days. Chip says that Scotty thinks that Beverly is the killer,
Uh-huh.
and she kind of gets mad, and then she leaves. And the police follow her because they're watching her now.
Right, right.
And Eugene and the kids get in Eugene's car, and they're driving to Scotty's house because they think that's where she's going.
Yeah, because
I did not mean to say it like that.
No, it's okay. They definitely think. And I love how she like writes them a note.
I don't even remember what the note
I think it's just
said.
like going to the store. Love mom. She writes them a note as they're going. But I love the part where she gets up and leaves, and you hear her start the car and peel out. They're all just sitting there like, it's such a fucking.
Right.
It's hilarious.
So the detectives are interviewing everybody in the neighborhood about all this stuff that's happened,
Uh-huh.
and they're saying that she's the killer.
Yeah.
And this is where we get our first taste of serial mom. That's what they call her.
Yeah.
So Eugene and the kids drive to Scotty's house, and a detective follows them also. And another officer follows Beverly, like I said before, but she loses him because she's smart.
Yes.
And she's actually at the Sterner's house watching them eat. And that's the people that got the dental work.
Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, if you notice in all of John Waters' movies, eating and sex is always weird. He never
Oh,
has
yeah.
a straight sex scene or anything like that. It's always just fucking weird. Even even what Elmer in Polyester cheating on his wife with his secretary was the fucking weirdest thing ever, where they're blowing up condoms and shit. But now Scotty is watching a dirty movie and preparing to jerk off, which we'll get to that scene in a minute. But the movie he's watching is the lady you see on TV is Chesty Morgan.
Chesty
Who,
Morgan.
my God, had a giant pair of eyes.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
You thought I was going. I mean, that's what I meant. But John said her acting technique was basically just to show up naked and say, "Give me money." Which, I mean, that's all she had to do in her films and stuff like that. But she was a classic. The movie he's watching, I believe, is her movie Double Agent 73 from 1975.
Have you seen
Double Agent? I have, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, classic porn is something to behold. Like, one of these days I got to track down all these movies like Deep Throat and stuff like that. It is something to watch, man. It's back in the days before, because nowadays, you know, we've all been fed all these YouTubes or tube sites.
Oh yeah.
We're all used to tube sites and like maybe 30-minute clips and shit like that. But I'm talking like an hour and a half with a story. They had plot lines in these movies.
Oh my gosh. It's so crazy.
It is.
So Beverly sneaks in and hides in the closet until Mrs. Sterner goes in there and she's getting undressed and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And Beverly's standing in there with a pair of scissors. She stabs her, and there's a random rat just biting
just
her
a mouse
leg.
biting her leg.
She's like got scratches and shit.
Yeah.
Well, she screams, and Mr. Sterner comes running in to see what's going on, and Beverly throws these scissors like a fucking throwing. What's this thing's called?
It's very impressive.
Oh yeah,
she throws it like a throwing star.
the throwing star.
Yeah,
that's
that's what you're looking for.
And she misses him, so she chases him down, and he runs outside. So she pushes a window unit AC out on him and hits him in the head. It's like on his head.
Yes.
And he dies.
Which is great. This movie has some good deaths.
Oh yeah.
Like for a comedy, this has got some really inventive deaths. John outdid himself, but they had to really work to get this mouse to get that shot of it biting this leg.
Oh yeah.
Like, they had to shoot this over and over again. John has a really hard time with mice. I'll discuss it at another time, but it was actually a fake leg that you see there with peanut butter on it.
Oh, okay.
That they had it, so this mouse would go after it. Now, the AC coming down on Mr. S was actually a camera attached to a string that they literally dropped it at him.
Oh,
so
shit.
he had to stand there, and he was. They said he was quite terrified.
Oh yeah,
because this thing came. Because you can see it if you pause your movie at a certain time, right as it gets to him, you can tell where that camera stopped.
Oh,
and it is right like half an inch away from his face.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, nope, I need a stunt double for
that
this.
Shit is scary when you think about it. It came super close.
Oh.
You know, I think it's in New York that window units falling and killing people is an actual thing. Like, it was an actual thing for a while.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know if you've seen a lot of pictures in New York, but they have scaffolding under every tall building for those kind of reasons, for stuff falling off the building and killing people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because New York City's buildings are old.
Right.
Yeah, they're much older than most places.
Right. So Eugene and the kids get to Scotty's house, and he is masturbating.
he's straight up beating the shit out of himself.
Oh yes. They sneak in the window. What? And the detective calls for backup.
Yeah.
And Scotty's about to get off when Chip opens the door. Then the detectives come barging in too.
Like I said, even masturbation is not normal in this movie. Now, they used a vibrating bed because, like, if you're watching this, you notice, like, when he's beating the shit out of his dick, things are falling off his wall and his bed's hitting the wall and shit like that. This is a vibrating bed that they had going, so he was literally beating himself off.
Great.
I don't think I've ever furiously masturbated before.
Why not?
I don't know. I've never been. I don't know. I know how to get myself up. That's the thing.
You don't need to be furious.
No, I don't have
about
to be furious. Know thyself.
So Eugene and the kids just go home, and they're relieved that Beverly isn't a killer, and she shows up too, but with dessert.
of course, because she's a lovely mother.
Right.
Honestly, she's actually pretty mom of the year here, besides the murder. One thing you notice, like I said, is the quippy pace of this movie. Did you like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't think of a lot of movies that are like this that have that quippy kind of style to them. I wish a lot more movies that were kind of done in this style had that,
Right. I like it because I like my slasher movies. Just get to the point.
Yeah, in reality, like I said, this is as close to a slasher as you'll get with John Waters. I mean, he does a good job.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see him do a straight horror movie, like try to come back and do a campy horror.
Well, that'd be
It's
cool.
surprising that he's never done that. I mean, some of his movies are pretty close.
Right.
Pretty damn close.
So the next day, they leave for church, and there is a slew of police cars around outside. They leave, and the police follow. And then the police get a call about the Sterners being killed, and then the family hears that Beverly is being named a serial killer, serial mom. Eugene asks her if it's menopause,
Menopause.
and Beverly just plays it off. And Eugene says that they're gonna get her psychiatric help. So they show up at the church, and everyone is whispering and staring at them.
Yeah, which I love. I love the baby scene we'll get to. So this was an actual radio station on the radio that they're listening to for that news report. The numbers you see is an actual radio station in Baltimore, where they hear how the Sterners got killed.
Right.
But the radio station loved the idea, because typically you'd probably have to pay to show the radio station number and everything.
Right.
But they even replay this little news report from time to time
Oh,
up
wow.
in Baltimore. They're proud of their son there. I love, we've talked about it before, but I love how John Waters went from like underground and stuff to now mainstream.
Oh, yeah.
He's accepted.
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird. What used to be bad taste is now good taste. What's good taste is bad taste now. It's weird.
It's flipped on
I
its
like
head.
how society is changing. I mean, a lot of old people don't. They're trying to kill us for it, but but I love during this scene, they look over because they stop at a red light. And they look over and a family screams at them.
It just drives away.
John said that people would look in horror when they stopped at a red light and Divine was with him. Like people
Well,
would be
I
like,
mean,
whoa.
Divine.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't scream. He said that was an over-exaggeration, but
Right.
John said that, like, to this day, he kind of still expects people to look at him in horror, like when he stops at a red light.
Yeah.
So he
That's
just kind of doesn't look anywhere. Just looks ahead. Oh, fuck. Obviously, because this is filmed in a real church, and obviously a normal church probably wouldn't be extremely excited to let John shoot a movie.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
his earlier stuff. No church was going to allow that. But this one did, because they kind of knew him. I mean, they knew John. Waters said he would go to church as a child, and he got the inspiration for the scene coming up because he'd be sitting there in just fucking boredom. Bored out of his ever-loving mind. He said he would daydream and fantasize about maybe the roof collapsing or someone freaking the fuck out or something exciting happening.
Oh, that's funny. So while they're inside, the detectives get a call that they found Beverly's fingerprints that match the crime scene.
Uh-huh.
So they go inside, sit in the open spaces, and then, oh my gosh, they're like praying or whatever, and Beverly accidentally sneezes on a baby in front of her,
No.
and everyone freaks out and starts running out. It's so funny to me.
and they for this baby, they really they had a straw with a little substance that they kind of popped onto it. And John's like, it didn't hurt the baby. He just got
Right.
a little shocked.
Right.
It's so funny.
Yes.
Shoot.
Well, Chip and Bertie grab Beverly and sneak her away from the church, and they're excited and say she needs an agent. She's good. She's bigger than Freddy and Jason now.
Would you have been stoked if you found out your mom was a serial killer?
I'd be a little scared.
Yeah, I don't know what I would think. Like if
little
my mom
scared.
turned out to have like bodies buried in her backyard or something, I don't know what I'd do. At this point, it'd probably be one of those, huh? All right. I
Do
mean,
you
I'm not
keep the-
turning my mom
I was about
in.
to say, do you keep the secret?
I mean, if the cops haven't caught her by now, that's their fault.
Well, Chip ends up taking her to the video store
The
because
Vidya store.
the video store.
The Vidya store.
I'm from Oklahoma. Okay.
Oklahoma.
Because he has to open it.
Oh, but yeah.
You know, work comes first.
But this would have
right?
been my fucking dreams job to work at a goddamn video store. Now, of course, that's Toby Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre playing on TV
Oh,
as
yeah.
they come in. And John really did actually meet Toby Hooper once. It was during the making of Female Trouble. Toby and him met, I don't know where, but they met up and they basically just had some drinks and hung out for the night just talking about movies. And I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall.
Oh, yeah.
John Waters and Toby Hooper together.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is.
So Chip locks her in the back room, and a customer comes in. An old ass fucking lady. Anyway, and she refuses to rewind her tape. And she's snotty with Chip, and this pisses Beverly off. So she sneaks out the exit. They realize she's gone, and they know she's going to the woman's house. So they look up, oh my gosh, they look up this woman's address in this huge ass fucking Rolodex. Do you remember Rolodexes?
I do remember Rolodexes.
I've never seen one that big though.
No, not that big. But my
No.
mom actually had a little Rolodex. They had a
Oh,
Rolodex
yeah.
with numbers on it and stuff like that.
We had them everywhere.
Do you remember when they brought out the electric Rolodex? Like it was like the wave of the fucking future?
No.
You would press a button. Okay, so we didn't have one of these, but I remember my teacher at school had one. You'd press a button, like slide it to a letter, and it would circle around and give you the card and stuff that you'd have to call it. You'd have to look it up because it's really hard to explain. I'm talking about like old school technology.
Right.
Like a tie rack was basically what it was.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
remember tie racks?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. They would kind of circle around. It was electric.
Yeah. So they get her address and they head over to her house. Well, she breaks in and is going to kill the woman with a knife, but decided to use the leg of lamb instead. Oh, I don't know why.
Oh, God.
But she beats her to death with it. And by the way, I forgot to add this in here, but Scotty followed them too.
Yeah.
Because when they left the church,
Mhm.
Chip took Scotty's car.
Yeah. And
So he got to watch this whole thing. Like
Yeah,
he
he
watched the
sees the
murder
whole
and
murder.
everything.
and I bet you never seen someone get brutally murdered to the song Tomorrow from Annie.
No.
It's the whole time. Tomorrow. They ruined this song.
Oh, yeah.
While a dog licked someone's feet, by the way. That was the worst. They put butter on this lady's feet to get the dog to lick them. So gross. More shrimping. If you haven't listened to our episode on Pink Flamingos, go learn what shrimping is there. But this whole sequence is just pure John Waters,
Oh,
man. This
yes.
defines it. The owners of the rights to the Orphan Annie song Tomorrow, they actually charged him $60,000 to use this song.
Oh my God.
Because it's used during a murder scene.
Oh, that's true.
It's such a joyous song. I think that's what makes it hilarious.
Right.
Tomorrow's just a day away unless you get beat by a leg of lamb. But now a lot of people have said this scene could be a tribute to a really famous scene from Alfred Hitchcock Presents. There was an episode where a woman kills her husband with a frozen roast and then feeds it to the cops who are investigating the murder.
Nice.
It's actually a really cool little episode of that show. I can't remember the name. I'm sorry. But in reality, John has said he just thought the idea of killing someone with meat, which is kind of gore, is kind of funny, pretty damn funny.
Oh, yeah.
Gorily beating someone to death with some pre-gore. That's pretty inventive. Plus, his mother used to make leg of lamb all the time, and he said it was one of her best meals. So he just, just funny.
So Beverly sees that Scotty saw what happened and runs out and starts chasing him. Birdie sees blood because they're looking in the window and she freaks out. She's like, it's not like the movies. It's brown. Okay.
Yeah, it's so funny because like I think it really like it speaks to a lot of us horror fans. We could watch gore all day, people getting cut up and brutalized and stuff, and we're not really even fazed by it, but we'll be utterly terrified by the real stuff if we ever saw it. I think it's a true thing for most people. It's weird because I guess when it's fake, because everybody, I mean, hopefully everybody knows that a horror movie's not real.
Right.
So I think it's that disconnect.
Right.
This is special.
Oh, I
effects.
get it.
Yeah, totally. And I've seen crime scene photos, and those have given me fucking nightmares before. I have a sick fascination with like wanting to see that, and I think most of the general public does.
Oh yeah. So you want to hear something weird?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've ever told you this. Okay, growing up, we had a wall full of pictures, like family pictures and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And one of the pictures on the wall was one of my like great uncles or some shit like that, and he got killed by Bonnie and Clyde or some shit like that. He got killed by somebody. I don't remember what it was, and it was his murder photo.
Oh, for real?
Because apparently, they used to like set them up.
Yeah, they used to take murder photos.
Yes,
of things.
It was his fucking murder photo.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Like it's actually very fascinating if you go and research it. Old school crime photography, because like that was almost an art of itself.
Right.
They had to set these cameras up because I mean, shooting a picture wasn't exactly like real quick. Like,
right.
It took a little time to get these things set up. So like it's just really neat to see. And plus, like, I don't know if you know, but like, have you seen the death photos that they used to do where they would take picture of family members dead?
Is that not what I just described?
Not really. They would pose them.
Well, this was posed. He was like sitting
okay.
up.
That's what you're talking about. We're talking about the same thing.
He was sitting up.
Yeah. It's the same thing then, what we're talking about. Like, it's really eerie. Yeah, it's a really eerie thing, but it was a very acceptable thing back in the day. That you would take, it's like your family member's last photo. So,
Yes.
So some of these old school photos you might see, those might be dead people. Unless you know the background of it, which creeps me the fuck out.
Right.
I think what's really, John really does, he hates violence.
What?
Yeah, even though he puts it in his movies, because what's more shocking than violence?
You're right.
I mean, violence and rape.
Right.
Those are the biggest shock points and stuff. And, he doesn't even really like watching the more hardcore news footage stuff.
Oh, wow.
In his youth, he actually tells a story of how he remembers him and his friends walking down the street on LSD. And they walked by someone actually getting murdered, like stabbed.
Oh,
and they didn't know it was real because, of course, they're on LSD. They think they're tripping out. And they're like, did that really happen? And then the next day they read it in the paper. And they're like, oh, God, we saw somebody get killed. So it's crazy. And John also killed a man.
What?
No, okay. Sorry.
What?
No, okay. It was a complete accident. And to this day, it really fucks with him, because he was just driving along one day. And this is when he was younger. And this guy just fucking walked out in front of him.
Oh, shit.
Just walked out in front of his car and he killed him. And luckily, a cop saw it. He was like, that was not your fault.
Oh, okay,
like, that was
good.
definitely not your fault.
Wow.
And to this day, they don't know if the guy was just trying to cross the street real quick or what, but like the cop was like, he just walked out in front of you. Like,
wow.
But that kind of stuff, that really sticks with you. And I really wonder if any of that kind of influenced the scene earlier we saw where the teacher gets run over.
Maybe.
It kind of makes you wonder.
Wow. Anyway, Scotty makes it to his car and Beverly starts stabbing through the sunroof and he drives away. Well, as she's stabbing, she was like, wear your fucking seatbelt or some shit like that. Well, she ends up stealing a van and chases him down. Chip and Birdie are running and they find Eugene and Misty, so they get in the car with them. And they all see Beverly chasing Scotty, so they go after them too. And so do the detectives. Scotty ends up driving to a club, goes inside and tries to hide.
Yeah.
Beverly goes to get in line, and people recognize her and they think it's cool that she's there. And so she just goes right inside, and Eugene and the kids show up too. And Scotty goes on stage because he's like kind of like backstage trying to get away from her. And he gets hit by the guitar. The guitarist just like punches him with the guitar.
Yes. All right. I'm sorry. This just whole scene is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But this was a real Baltimore rock club called Hammerjacks. And the band here playing is L7. A lot of people probably don't know who L7 is. They're actually a pretty good girl rock band. But John labels them here the camel lips, which if you look close, they're all wearing these pants with these fake vagina lips poking through.
Right. They all got camel toes.
Yeah, they all got camel toes. The song they are singing is a stance against capital punishment that John kind of just came up with. Now, L7 was kind of popular at the time, like I said, and really did help sell this scene. You know, I mean, well, sell it because like these people were legitimately there to watch.
Oh, wow.
Like this band play. So now, depending on where you are, we just said camel lips, but depending on where you are in the country, you'd say camel toes, which is a very interesting thing. Like how that happens. Like I think more up north they say camel lips, and down here they say camel toes.
Oh, okay.
It's I don't know why that has anything to do with this, but it's funny.
Well, Beverly goes up behind stage, and she cuts the lights, and they end up falling on Scotty. She then uses a can of something and a lighter to catch him on fire. And he's walking around on stage on fire, and the band just spits alcohol on him, and the crowd thinks this is great. The police show up and arrest Beverly, and the crowd starts chanting "Serial Mom."
Yeah. Yeah. Which, you know, did this band assist with a murder?
I think so.
Everybody's holding up their lighters and shit and just getting into it. But, you know, it's funny to us, but really, I mean, you know, it kind of talks to our society frothing to see a real murder. I'm pretty sure people would get into this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, like somebody said the other day, brought up a good point. If they televised executions, that would be the most watched TV show in America.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we have a healthy appetite for violence in this country. Not so much sex, though. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, we do. Pornhub has lots of sex. People go searching on there a lot, but that's more like not public. You know, I mean, of course, people are doing that behind closed doors.
Right.
But now this was the only death that Kathleen Turner kind of felt weird about because it felt too real. In fact, I feel like this is the meanest murder.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible.
Oh, yeah. So Eugene and Chip are walking through a sea of press, getting asked all kinds of questions. And he says that Beverly is devastated by the charges against her. And then we see Beverly, she's just riding in a bus singing and having a good time. She's in a jail bus, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're all at court now, and Beverly is all cheery and talking to everyone, and they start the trial. But at the very beginning of this, she gets a glimpse of juror number 8, and it's a woman, and she's wearing white after Labor Day.
Bum, bum, bum. Now, okay. I remember white after Labor Day was a thing back in the day.
Yes.
Like, I remember hearing about it a lot. But when we were growing up, it was already a joke. Like,
was it?
Yeah, to me it was. I mean, to my parents it was. Again, my parents weren't normal.
Right.
So I really don't know the history of white after Labor Day.
I don't know.
You don't know that either? Maybe somebody can tell us on Twitter. Like,
I have no
that is a very
idea.
curious thing. So John talks about having to do jury duty in one of the commentaries to this thing. And of course, when he showed up, he had to sign autographs and shit because everybody knew it was John Waters.
Yeah.
And it's just thinking about John Waters showing up to your jury duty selection has to be hilarious because him and that mustache, which by the way, I haven't told the secret behind the mustache.
Okay.
So he's known for that pencil thin fucking mustache across his lip, right?
Yeah.
Well, when he was just starting out, real young and stuff, teenager and stuff, he was trying to figure out because he was going bald, and he was like, I want something to make me stand out from everybody else.
Right.
And, somebody said, well, why don't you do like a pencil thin mustache? You do something like that. It was just a suggestion.
Right.
Like, try something like that. And so he was like, yeah, sure. And so he tried to grow this little mustache, right? He would shave it down and do what you do, but it just wouldn't grow in as thick as it should be. He was wanting to go for the Gomez Adams, but it just was not happening. So what he did was, because one lady that he hung around, I think it was Mink Stoll that suggested this to him, but she was like, why don't you just do it with eyeliner?
Yeah.
And so from then on out, and it's Maybelline, he's the Maybelline pencil, and he draws his eyeliner mustache on and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said that sometimes, it does get messed up. And so sometimes he showed up one day to some appointment, and this lady was like, what's wrong with your mustache? He was like, oh, hang on a minute. He had to go to the bathroom and
let me go
reapply
fix
it.
this.
So that's the secret behind his look. And really, it goes to show you, you can because that is very iconic.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to John Waters, that little mustache, it just gives him such a unique look. Even though he does wear all these tacky clothes and stuff, but I don't know, on him it looks great.
Right.
It's John Waters,
Right.
Like David Bowie, he would change his style and stuff like that. It really that's what a lot of people do to kind of set themselves aside from the rest of the public. They don't want to fit in.
Right.
We all don't want to fit. I mean, it's why I paint my fingernails and shit. I hate fitting in, and I love the looks I get from everybody else.
Yes.
And so it just goes to show you something real simple you can do that'll make you just stick out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But anyway, now juror number 8, who's committing the big sin of wearing white after Labor Day, that's Patricia Hearst. Now, it's okay if you haven't heard Patricia Hearst, because it's also in itself a true crime story. Now, John Waters went to her trial and stuff back in the day, just like the Manson trials, and she became famous for being a victim. In 1974, she was kidnapped from her Berkeley apartment by an urban guerrilla left-wing group called the Siboneyes Liberation Army. She was mostly taken to leverage the Hearst family's political standings and to free 2 SLA members from prison who had been arrested for killing Marcus Foster. Now, I'm not going to go into all that. You guys can go look that up yourself, because Patricia Hearst is the granddaughter of publishing magnate William Randolph Hearst. So she comes from a very wealthy family. Oh,
okay.
They held her in a closet for a week, blindfolded, and constantly threatening to kill her every day. After a bit, Patricia did get smart. And she joined their political discussions, kind of as a way to kind of self-preserve herself. They let her read pamphlets. They gave her the choice in the end of either being killed or joining their movement.
Oh, wow.
So of course she joined. Now, I think 2 of the members also raped her. She was
poor
beaten down. She recorded a message declaring herself as a member and changing her name to Tanya. And this is where her trouble starts. What got her turned into a criminal and brought the trial, even though she was trying to avoid being killed, I think, in the beginning, was her part in the 1974 bank robbery. I mean, she even shot. Later, she got into a scuffle and shot at a guy and stuff too.
Oh, wow.
So, she was indicted by a grand jury, even though the FBI said footage from that bank robbery showed several members pointing guns at her during the robbery. And now, honestly, if you do your research into the case, Patty Hearst, you'll definitely notice that it seemed like she's suffering from what's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Right.
Where you do start caring about your captives, or in this case, their movement, which is, it's pretty much a form of brainwashing.
Yes.
Kind of along the same thing, Charlie Manson did.
Oh, yeah.
He was very charismatic and stuff in that way, even though I don't know. I guess to the rest of us, I don't see how Charlie convinced everybody, but it was the 70s and there was a lot of drugs. So just seeing that little hobbit looking motherfucker. Yeah, Jack, we're going to the desert. but anyway, in fact, a psychologist who interviewed Patty after she was arrested and stuff said she basically was at that point a low IQ zombie.
Oh, wow.
She dropped to 87 pounds. And her IQ plummeted to 112 when it was originally 130. because remember, she was in college going, studying and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, she suffered from trauma and huge memory gaps, was a chain smoker. She completely changed. This whole situation changed her. She was even like boasting in prison about being a member and stuff like that. So something snapped. But without an actual mental illness, she was still convicted.
Right.
And sentenced to 35 years, a sentence that was later commuted by Jimmy Carter. So she was released after 7 years, I believe. And she was given a full pardon by President Clinton. I'm sure in between the blowjobs. Now, okay, so this isn't the first time Patty Hearst worked with John Waters. I believe she's in Cry Baby and a few of his other movies. And in John's words, he just feels like the reason why she accepted parts in this and stuff, besides just knowing who John was, because he followed her case and stuff and talked to her. Who wants to be remembered as a victim?
Right.
And so she began acting.
So Beverly's lawyer has had enough of her.
I love it because she moves that note over. Juror number 8 is wearing white after Labor Day. He's like, Beverly's insane.
So she stands up and says that she wants to fire her lawyer and represent herself. So the judge agrees and they continue on. Dottie takes the stand, and when Beverly questions her, Dottie starts getting pissed and basically cussing her out. And the judge sentences Dottie to 5 days in jail and $1,000 fine because she wouldn't shut the fuck up.
And I love the thing between Mink Stole. Each time they do this little thing where they have this little like war of curse words, it is the funniest fucking thing ever. And they're like children in this scene where like Beverly is sitting there whispering "fuck you" under her breath and shit, in which Dottie goes over the fucking edge. They just play off of each other so well.
Oh yeah, because Mink Stole's a great actress too.
Oh, she is.
So outside of the courthouse, Misty is selling cereal merchandise. Chip is inside on the phone, and a man comes up to him and punches him because Beverly killed his brother Carl.
Yeah.
Then Chip asks about how... Oh, I didn't write this down well enough, but Chip asked if he had signed on for TV or a movie. And the guy said TV, and he was like... Chip's like, well, Suzanne Summers is going to play my mom on TV.
Yes.
This is where they introduced that Suzanne Summers was there.
Yeah, which
she was
I love
so
it when
big
she
in the
comes,
90s.
Yes, Suzanne Summers. I know a lot of people are like, who the fuck is that? She was huge in the Step by Step, fucking all sorts. Yes. She was great. Three's Company too, wasn't she? Wasn't she on Three's Company?
Yeah.
I love how the judge is like, I loved you in Three's Company. Because everybody just stops when Suzanne Summer walks in. Now, what's funny is when John was actually attending trials, Patty Hearst, the Manson trials and what have you, that was a time when no one would fucking do that. That was considered fucking weird. But I think he went because, in his words, they're just great dramas.
Oh, yeah.
Like it is it is a theatrical thing. Because he talked in the Manson trial, one of the shocking things the defense did was like the prosecution has proved nothing because yeah, I mean that's one of the things is like watching two lawyers go at it.
Back at court, one of the detectives is testifying, and they're talking about the books that they found in the trash.
Now, all those books were out of John's personal collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Beverly shows a magazine saying she found it in his trash, and it's a porn of chicks with dicks. Then Rosemary is testifying, and Beverly says that Carl died because of Rosemary, because she wanted that egg that he bought, that Franklin Mint Fabergé egg.
The Franklin Mint Fabergé egg.
And she points out that the pea that was missing from the magazine was her magazine, and her scissors, the scissors that were found in Mrs. S's stomach were her scissors. Because early in the movie, I didn't touch on it, but Rosemary let Beverly borrow her sewing kit.
Yeah. Which, like, I don't know how Beverly does this, but...
Yes. Then Beverly asks her if she recycles. And she's like, no. And everybody in the courtroom is like, This must have been when recycling was like a big deal.
I think the scene with the books, that really kind of speaks to people who like to point at horror fans and true crime fans.
Oh yeah.
It really kind of speaks to them because they double down on the things we find interesting and obsess about. And it's always how horrible of people we are and what kind of lack of morals we have and stuff like that.
Right.
When they themselves obsess over terrible politicians and love discriminating against people, it's always those people who do that come after people like us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So one of the detectives is on the stand now, and Suzanne Summers comes in, and everybody gets distracted, even the judge. But they call on the man from the bathroom that saw Beverly, and he's starting to testify, and Beverly is flashing her vagina at him.
Yes.
To distract him, and he says that he made it all up. They decided that they were done with witnesses, and they're going to turn it over to the jury now.
It's a hilarious scene. You know, you got to wonder, like, could you do this to a horny witness? Could you distract them enough to like, you know what? Never mind.
No, because the judge is going to see it.
That's true. Hey, stop showing him your vagina. Get out of here.
So Suzanne Summers is doing interviews outside and says that she thinks Beverly is innocent. And they have their closing arguments. And then 2 days later, they meet up for the verdict. Mm-hmm. And they find Beverly not guilty. And everyone stands up and cheers.
Yes.
Eugene looks horrified. And as they're walking out, Beverly sees the lady, juror number 8,
mm-hmm.
and she follows her. She follows her, and she's on the phone. Well, Beverly takes the phone, bashes her in the head with it, and just walks off. And then...
I love because she's like, you're wearing white after Labor Day. That's not a thing anymore.
It's still a thing, and just bashes her. Oh, wait, before we go on too far, yeah. Misty is like dating one of the detective guys now, mm-hmm. I guess, and they're like making out in the courtroom and stuff.
Yeah.
And when she gets found not guilty, Misty's like, well, we're going to have to be really nice to Mom. Just don't make her mad.
Yeah, it's in Catholic Theater. She turns around, she's like, I'm coming home. And they're all like, hey. Yeah. Sam Waterston's reactions to things.
Oh, yeah.
In this movie are the funniest. Like, even at that concert where she's like, they watched her kill this guy. And then she turns around like she's enjoying the rock concert and waves at him. Right. And it's just like, well, I guess I wave back.
He's like, I don't know what to do. So Suzanne is trying to take pictures with Beverly, and she keeps pushing her to the side. And Beverly ends up yelling at her that this is not my good side.
Yeah, because she's trying to tell her. She's like, no, not over here. This is my bad side. This is my bad side. Suzanne Summers still pushing her. She's like, Suzanne Summers, this is my bad side.
So then someone sees the dead lady and screams, and everybody just turns to Beverly. And it's over.
That fucking Barry Manilow song, Daybreak.
Yes. Oh, because she listens to that like 3 or 4 times throughout the
Daybreak
movie.
by Barry Manilow. Now, sorry. Now it just kind of goes to show you, like, being notorious and being famous nowadays, it really goes hand in hand. So, like I said, he predicted a lot of things with this movie. Like the way our pop culture would lean towards true crime and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's really neat to watch this now, like, as opposed to actually 94. Because I remember watching it. I saw it like when it came out on video, which I think, God, waiting for things to come out on videotape, I think took like 2 years. So I probably saw this in 96 in reality.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there used to be a time when things would take forever to come out on video.
Oh yeah,
which is it's very interesting to think about. But in fact, like, this is one of the first times I ever did hear that white after Labor Day thing, because it just wasn't a thing in my house.
Right.
Like, would your mom say anything? Really?
Yep. We did not wear white after Labor Day.
That's so fucking weird.
Yeah, and we didn't wear black after Memorial Day.
And this was like the late 90s or early 2000s. Like, that's like way late to be doing that.
And we didn't wear black after Memorial Day.
No, I've never heard that one. That's interesting.
I don't know if that was just a thing in our house or
My
what.
family was not proper. Like, we didn't set the table or anything. You just grabbed your plate and you ate.
Right.
But anyway, now Serial Mom came out to mixed reviews. It holds about a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes and didn't make much of its budget back at all. In fact, it bombed. I think it made like $7 million off of its
sad.
$13 million. Yeah. Well, at the time, it's just a really hard movie to understand at the time.
Oh,
Like
okay,
for a
at
lot
the
of people
time, yeah.
at the time. You know, a lot of people weren't grasping on. Plus, it came out on a Sunday.
Oh, that's weird.
You know, and like John Waters said, you know, people are fucking gardening their lawn or mowing their lawns and planting their gardens or picking shit out of their gardens. It's just like
Right.
nobody's going to the movies on a Sunday. Well, now they would, but you know,
Right.
different times at the time. Now, but like with any good cult movie, I mean, it is now a classic. You know, a lot of people talk this up in circles. I still don't think as much as it should be. I still think it's a very underrated movie.
Oh, I agree.
Because this never makes anyone's like comedy lists or any like. It really is a black comedy, but I think you could throw it in a horror comedy category.
Oh, I agree.
You know, you could play this next to like Idle Hands. Like this and Idle Hands would be a great double feature, or you know, anything like that. But now Roger Ebert claimed that Kathleen's portrayal of the character wasn't campy enough, and so it just wasn't funny.
What?
But I think the complete opposite. I find the way Kathleen portrays Serial Mom in this movie to be hilarious.
Oh,
She plays the character as someone who's very insane, but the world around her is campy as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like which makes for a very interesting, funny movie. Like the comedy bits in this thing are hilarious because everything's so funny around her. Like that, just her simple. Like there's a scene. It cracks me up each time. But if you were watching it, if you put some serious music behind it, it's horrifying. The scene where she walks into Chip's room to wake him up when she's pissed off and she just like slams her face down real quick at him. And it just really aggressively wakes someone up.
He's like,
It's funny.
yes.
Like, it's very funny. She does an amazing job in this movie. Like we said, like if you watch this movie for anything else, just watch it for Kathleen Turner. She's
She's
amazing in this thing. The movie also, you know, it acts as a satire for the true crime movies you'd see on TV, especially ones now. I think more, it feels like he took a time machine to now.
Yes.
And made a satire of the movies we see constantly now.
And TV shows and stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
and TV shows. Like, if you watch some of these in a certain light, they're hilarious.
Oh, I agree.
Like that whatever Ted Bundy movie with Zac Efron. Like,
Oh
if
my
you watch
God.
that in a certain light, it's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, so it's... he just, like, he does such a great job with this thing. And, you know, also the over-the-top worship of these serial killers is something we see today. Serial Mom, the movie is kind of a precursor to the podcast some of us enjoy, you know, that tell these true crime stories with that sense of humor.
Mhm.
Like I said, Last Podcast on the Left does this very well. So yes, John Waters set the pattern for those things. So you have this, I feel like you have this movie to thank. For those podcasts, for some of our entertainment we get now. Serial killers are in the mainstream bloodline of America, man. And the whole world, really. You know, people like Bev are out there. Now, they probably aren't offing their neighbors, but they are definitely...
Thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about it and really soaking up true crime. Like this...
Are you talking about me?
Yes, like if I discovered you had like correspondence with a serial killer and you had like scrapbooks of it, it wouldn't really faze me. I would just think it was neat. Like that's the difference. Like that's what's so funny about this movie. Like I said, stuff like that, that's comedic. And it was funny at the time, but it's even funnier now.
Right.
Like this movie ages really well. Like, so I think if you didn't find it too funny back in the day when you first saw it, maybe watch it again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, definitely watch it again. It has rewatchability to it.
Yes.
Now, you know, alone, it's a great story. A Doris Day perfect mom who also is fascinated with serial killers and lets out her rage. But enough of my thoughts. What did you think about Serial Mom from 1994?
I love it. It's
Yeah?
perfect. I can relate to it.
I'm worried. Are
and
you going
all
to
the
set the
ways.
children's friends on fire?
I don't know. What are they going to say about my babies?
Oh, God.
What are they going to see me doing? Maybe they shouldn't be snooping around.
I have a really awkward boner right now. Anyway, you looked.
Was I not supposed to?
She looked, everybody.
Was I not supposed to?
No, you were supposed to, but anyway.
I'm sorry, I won't look. I'll look over here. The dickless Ivan over here. I'll look
Dickless Ivan. Ivan, our skeleton, everybody. Our studio skeleton.
Anyway, I love it because I love a good, straightforward slasher movie. I like comedy.
It's a fun fucking watch. You know, this is a hangover movie too.
Oh yeah.
Like you got a bad fucking hangover. Your head hurts. You're not feeling too well. You could throw on Serial Mom and have some good light laughs. You know, have a good time.
Feel like you just have your mom there with you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a good Mother's Day movie.
Like we said at the top of the show, it's a very good Mother's Day movie. I wish Mother's Day would have fallen on a Monday, but alas, I don't think it did it?
I don't think
Sunday.
It ever does.
No, it's a Sunday, isn't it? I'm
I
dumb.
think it's always a Sunday.
I'm dumb as hell. Anyway, so Camp Waters month is continuing.
Okay.
Next week.
And
we are watching Cecil B. Demented, a satire on movie making. He goes a little meta with this one. Yeah.
I hate those kind of movies.
No, it's not like what you think.
Okay.
When I tell you what a John Waters movie is kind of like, think the opposite of what you're thinking.
That's true.
So far, like you've said, you've been surprised. Did Serial Mom surprise you? Serial Mom, I think out of his whole library, I think that's the one that's kind of doing what the title is.
Yeah.
Polyester is a more quippier title.
Right.
Pink Flamingos is a little different, like that. Like, those shock you.
Right.
Stuff like that. And they're surprising. But Serial Mom is kind of right there in the title. I mean, it's the poster has Kathleen Turner on the front with a pair of scissors in that closet,
Right.
It's very easy to tell. But Cecil B. Demented is what we're watching next week. Now, I chose this one because I think it's a very, very underrated movie. I think it's one of his most underrated films. And like I said, I really do love his later works. And I'm wondering what you think about this one. To me, it's very good. But yeah, we'll see next week. But anyway, keep an eye on your mom, everybody. Oh, and be sure to check out our Patreon. If you're not a subscriber on there, you might want to hop on because this month we are doing on Damn Fine Peaks. It's not a Twin Peaks episode because we finished the first season. We are watching Blue Velvet, so it's gonna be like a bonus one of these.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good time. So hop on over there. The Campbell Hour is coming out, and of course, Shooting the Shit is a weekly show where it's our little show about nothing. Right. But anyway, I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Serial Mom, Serial Mom, Serial Mom.
Pussy Willow.
Pussy Willow.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.